So a little bit of a backstory here. Since I first saw a Segway, I've always wanted one. And then about a year and a half ago, I was in Italy. I had just finished and wrapped a shoot there. And a friend of mine, my step twin from Austria, came down, Peter, and we rode Segways at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was absolutely amazing. And I really wanted to get a Segway, but there was no way, wife, 3 kids, everything else, that I could justify the cost. We are now not even 2 years later, and in front of me I have this Segway by Ninebot miniPRO. This is sort of the first product for the US market. Sold exclusively initially in the US through Amazon and at a price of, introductory price of $999, which for what this is amazing. And the way I'm justifying this as a purchase, and trust me, I'm still going to ride it for fun, is this is actually going to be used for camera movement. And that's something that I want to talk to you about in this episode a little later on, which is why I have this gimbal over here. But the first thing to do is to sort of talk a little bit about the product. So what I want to do is I kind of want to break down some of the features for you. All right, so let's talk about what does and does not come with the miniPRO. And by the way, in the beginning I called this Segway by Ninebot miniPRO. It's actually Ninebot by Segway miniPRO. It's always going to be a Segway to me. Comes in 2 colors. You can get it in black or in white. I think most people who are going to use this for production are going to get it in black, unless they're going to use it for a prop with talent. Box opens, there's not a lot in there. You have this, which is the main base and really the heart of the whole thing. You have this, which is really your pan bar or whatever, your control bar. It's how you go left and right with the unit. And then you have this, which is a power supply, and it takes about 4 hours to charge this fully. Fully charged, the miniPRO will go about 14 miles, and it will go up to speeds of 10 miles per hour. And you kind of have to unlock that, which I'll talk about in a second. And then the only other thing it comes with basically is a little adapter so that you can blow up these wheels if they deflate a little bit, which is pretty cool. So you have all the parts you need in there. And this thing right here could not be simpler. You just line it up here with this. You basically put it on, and then as soon as you do that, the balance with this off is not really going to work. So you have to turn it on, and then it will self-balance itself. There's also this little bar that comes up, and you can use this to essentially control your little Wally from that bar. So if you get off the miniPRO and you just kind of want to walk with it into a restaurant or something like that, you can do that. And other than that, it doesn't come with a helmet, so you're going to need to get one of those. And you're also really going to want to have some sort of smartphone, because you can download an app. Once you've actually turned on the Ninebot, you can actually search for the device. It connects very, very quickly, and then it starts immediately when you turn it on the first time with a training mode. And you are limited in terms of the speed in which you can ride the miniPRO until you do that. This, by the way, is a bar that goes up and down. Big difference between the Mini and the miniPRO. This is really supposed to rest in between your knees. So depending on how tall you are, or how, in my case, short you are, then you can actually put this at the right height. And there's an indicator in terms of battery power. I have full bars here, Bluetooth enabled. There's also all kinds of cool lights, and when you turn left and right, they actually light up different ways. And this app will not only take you through certain steps to get you comfortable riding this and at a slower speed initially, but once you actually connect by Bluetooth, you can do some other things. And one of them is there's a little button on here that you can press, and you can activate a remote control. And think about what you could do with this if you rigged a camera or something else on here. The fact that you can actually control this with your knees for left to right, and then you lean forwards to go forwards and backwards to go backwards, means that I think you can do some really, really cool stuff. So I think what I should do now is talk to you and show you a little bit more about how I'm going to use this as a production tool with something like a gimbal. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so before we go any further here, this is impossible to do, well, these types are, without help from people like my friend Dan. This is Dan Fakos. He has worked with me on and off, pretty much on, for how long now?
3 years.
3 years? Yeah, pretty much 3 years. So he has injured himself, and as a result, he's flipping me the bird, but that's because he's injured. So he's pulling focus with his middle finger. Such is life. So here I am. I'm up on the miniPRO, and the first thing you have to do is you really have to make sure that you are comfortable with riding this thing first. So I did go through the training, I did unlock the higher speed, and then I really had to start practicing, because you are multitasking when you're doing this. The idea is that you really want to become comfortable here. I'm going to look at the monitor to make sure I have frame. You really want to become comfortable. I'm shooting at a relatively wide focal length right now, and I'm also stopped down. I do have ND on here right now, but this is just to kind of give you an idea. And even now, I'm really sort of, you know, making sure that I'm thinking about what I'm doing with this more importantly than with that. And see, there you go. And when you start to put your attention on something else, that's when things can go wrong. So you really have to make sure your attention is on this. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and take this now and sort of take it out of a selfie mode so I can take a look at my frame. And I'm just going to roll camera and show you guys a little bit of footage just so you can start to see what this looks like when you're on the miniPRO. $1,000 US is relatively inexpensive in terms of what many of us have spent on things to create shoulder rigs and other things for our systems, not to mention the gimbals and everything else. So to be able to add this other component to your camera movement at a relatively low cost, I think is pretty darn impressive. So hold on, let me just flip this back over. And there we go. Zoop. All right. So there it is, Ninebot by Segway miniPRO. And I'm really excited about this thing, and I'll see you guys on another episode of Random Acts Of.